Oh, that's right, you sent them. Okay. Well, I guess we can just forgo that. Are there any comments or recommendations on the minutes from the last meeting?
I suggest that we approve as composed.
I'll second.
What is it? Anybody against it? Say,
Yeah, that'd be better.
Yeah. all for it? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passed. Welcome, Michael. Like everybody knows, Michael, thank you for stepping up to the plate and being willing to take this on. Tonight's intention was to pass the revised guidelines that Tom and Stephen have really, I guess, been instrumental in putting together. Let's just open to discussion. I guess everybody's read them. I had made some notes on which I gave you, but I couldn't even tell you now what it was. I think I had found a few typos as much as anything. I mean, I was kind of leaning on you and Tom for the context and of it.
You know, my only concern is just the graphic association allied with it. It's purely textual, and as I was saying earlier, and say it officially, that most people are visually inclined as to do this and not this, and the parameters allied with it. And that said, since John Jewell is our liaison with our parenting body, the Planning Commission, that I think we need to have his official input, because he will be the one taking the vanguard of this to the Planning Commission, and thereby they approving it, and therefore on to the City Assembly.
I mean, that makes sense. I really wanted all of us to be here, including Tom.
Yeah.
To kind of hash it through and make sure we were comfortable with what it was, and also to make sure, and this goes back to the other conversation we continue to have, is about how we enforce it. And and I'm not sure, is that really covered in here?
I didn't see the means and methodology.
Yeah, that's what, and I feel like should there not be some, is this not the vehicle?
If you're going to have a guard dog, you got a choice between bark and bite, and hopefully you have both.
Would that not be
part of the textual association?
Yeah, so that people realize that this is a meaningful, and if you don't follow and play by the rules, that there are repercussions. It's just like a code or a,
It's a code.
Yeah.
And the intent is not to create something in order to punish people.
Right.
It is something to give people guidance to where the investment in their business and their property will mature and appreciate.
I'm like you, this being, I think 90% of the people that pick this up would not bother to read it, much less try to understand it.
But it's there for us to reference when they don't.
Yeah.
So they're going to come here, they're not going to read it, and we can say that this is the body.
Right.
I think there needs to be, I like this, I think it's, it's still broad. It's not, and the thing I like about it is it still is broad, because it gives us a little subjectivity to each case by case, based on the context of where it is, based on the use of the building, where it's located in the city, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is one document. I think the process is another document. So the application process, because that may change, right? With technology, with how we decide if they're going to City Hall to pick it up, if they print something off online. I think it's okay to keep this and that separate.
If we're submitting this to the commission and to the city to be voted on, how specific do we need to be before submitting it? Can we add on a secondary document after the fact saying?
It's unusual to do that. Addendas, then it goes through the same processes.
So do we need to make it as complete as possible as far as like the application process first, and then send it on to planning and city council?
So it'd be one, you're thinking one is major overarching.
What were you saying is like the second part of this? It
See, I think
more about what the teeth in the dog are.
This is this is the code. We'll call it the code, even though it's not, you know, aperture shall be this, glazing shall be this type of material. It's not.
Right.
It has.
It's
I
more
like,
of a guideline, like it, yeah.
It's not, and I'm not saying we're trying to create ambiguity with this. I don't think that does appear either. But I think that this is, I think it's going to be hard to say, it's going to be hard to put in an application process. I don't know. I think I still like keeping them separate because this lets this ride on by itself. And then, but I'm also concerned if we put the pictures in here too, people are just gonna flip through and see the pictures. Well, that picture is just.
That's true.
And then it's almost like the picture, we would need illustrations like you're saying, because we don't wanna give a case example of something even
Of an
that
actual,
exists
yeah.
in Watertown or Nashville or anywhere else. It almost have to be illustrated to scale proportionally
We had a
architecturally
whole,
correct.
we had something with illustrations in it at one point, didn't we? Some kind of hard copy.
I don't know. I like text. It means that we know our stuff. We know this. And if they don't, then we can refer them to this. It helps us, but if we go straight for illustrations,
Now, I'm strictly against, I concur.
that could be months, years out, and those are really.
We've been talking about the illustration thing for 15 years.
But
Yeah.
I'm making an argument for let's figure out a way around illustrations for the time being. It's a great long-term goal.
So maybe that could be something that becomes, it's a document, but it's not a printed document. It's something that's maybe part of a website or something that they could go to.
Visual addenda.
reference. Yeah.
You know, I think Tom would have to address that.
Yeah.
Because he's the steward of that.
So in other words, if we don't create it to go with this now, we can't create it later. As a
It's difficult to add the addenda to it, just like it is.
Well, not necessarily add it to this, but create a separate document that just kind of supports this. It's not
Again, that's Tom's
common.
bailiwick.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's beyond me as well.
I like it being in text only.
And I'm not arguing with that.
I'm still
just
a
saying,
DOS guy.
Huh?
I'm still a DOS guy.
I just think
my
there's
AutoCAD's DOS.
value to somebody being able to say, okay, here's the rhythm of these windows, and here's one that's not, and this is how you can tell the difference. Mm-hmm. And here's the scale of this building compared to this, or here's the proportion of this to that.
But also, I don't think Watertown is ready. I don't think we're ready, or Watertown's ready to get. We don't need to be downtown Franklin level. I don't think so. I like having a little bit of flexibility. I think this makes it not. This to me is not as scary as say like a downtown Franklin, where they're like you're measuring the width of mullions and you're trying to get proportion of
yeah,
lights.
I'm not advocating getting down to that.
I think that this doesn't scare people off from wanting to do business and wanting to work on buildings in Watertown. I think we need to find that fine line. If we get too into detail too quickly, and we're also time sensitive. So we've had a little flush. It seems like we've had a flurry of activity here recently, 2020, 2021, where I'd rather not drag this out for another 6, 8, 12 months. I'd like to get this thing.
It could easily take that long once we approve it for it to run through the course of everything else.
Correct.
Right?
So
Good question.
You throw another layer of addendum or.
And they may have to have
illustration.
multiple readings on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the due diligence is in
At least
regard
two.
to
At least just 2 on this one.
the first reading, second reading, third reading of the,
Three
the
strikes.
council.
Three strikes, you're out.
Yeah. Okay.
And we've had, Mike put up the, Chair Summers, because now I deal with 15
many
mics. Yeah, 15 mics. I have to give everybody a nickname. So anyway, our chairman posted up on the Watertown website what the application process. And people have been told this and they've never brought it. You know, it's been going on for 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michael would help me do that. It's been a couple of years ago, I guess.
And see, I think
It's all
that'll
there.
that'll evolve too. You know, I think that, and that's why I like keeping the application process, because depending on the volume of caseloads we get and what people, if we find out a pattern of what people are or are not bringing in, we can change that quickly. That's an online thing, but I do think that there needs to be a packet or some sort of physical copies at City Hall that they have to come get.
It has an application and a copy of this, I guess.
April, may I ask you a question? How many times are you aware of people coming into City Hall and asking about the guidelines or the historic district or anything allied with this commission? No one. That's interesting.
They just do.
Do they ever ask if there's a map? Is my property in it? Or they just, okay. Because I know there's a few people who've purchased property, they go, what? There's a historic district. And one thing I'd really like to see, and I've been thumping the cover off this, is to have the street signage where it has, it's in a truck, which truck? Is to have a boundary where it's comprehended. You know, you've now entered, you know, the demilitarized zone or whatever. You know.
And you know, we did some artwork on that, and there's something there that we Steve and I put together that would be great for that. It's just the vehicle for getting that out, made and out there, which we had talked about trying to get into one of those grant programs.
Yeah.
Like so.
And I'm gonna go on record about this. It's one of my concerns is that we slid into the money to the state quasi Main Street program at the 11th hour, okay? Application wise and everything else. So this next wave of money, is Historic Watertown going to?
I don't know. I haven't been to, and I don't know if this devolves into another conversation, but I mean, I haven't been keeping up with it. I've seen emails where they've been meeting, and like I said, Bridget had reached out to me about it, that there was some significant money out there. It's a whole other program. I'm sure you're aware of it.
It's another
up
state.
to $300,000 or something
Yeah.
that they'll match, you know, up to a pretty good percentage of.
And that's a
30% or
lick
something. Might be something you want to look into. I don't know, but I've got some information on it I can send to you. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation, I guess.
Because, you know, if there is availability of us getting X amount of funds, you know.
That one had a minimal. I think you had to spend $15,000 to get
the match.
The third or whatever it was. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, usually to put a guideline package together, it's $10,000 to $20,000 right there. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Yeah, but for somebody like us, I mean, you're talking about like a Franklin that's going in, drilling down that far. I mean, we're talking about not drilling down that far. I would think we could get something done with our guidance, you know, for.
you'd still probably be 10 to 20.
I'm sorry.
You'd still probably be 10 to 20.
I could ask 3 firms who do it and say, hey, what's it going right?
Well, that's what we'd have. We'd have to bid it out. But I'd say it'd be probably a small planning firm, something like that.
And
we
those,
would just hand them this, and then they would take it and put it into a
They'd create.
formal.
That's right. They would create a pattern book, and they would create the whole.
Columbia's is great. If you see Columbia's guideline book, and you see Murfreesboro's, and you see Rogersville, Greenville, they had a couple of civil wars about it, and it was all over murals.
Now you're talking about they're all county seats, right?
I'm sorry?
They're all county seats. All those communities are county seats.
By and large, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess at the end of the day here, we're probably not gonna vote on this tonight. Is that?
Or
the
we could,
consensus?
I've read it. We could even, I mean, the thing is, we probably won't be able to get all 5 of us plus Tom in one location.
It has happened, yeah.
Maybe it happens. Is there a way we can push this through with conditional approval? So basically, we send it
I would like to
to.
have John's input in on it, and particularly,
And I think Tom is an important part of
and
it.
Tom's basically done this.
Yeah, it
What
came
he's
out
done
of
is
his-
edited, is what's transpired.
So Tom put this together?
Well, based on Steve, a copy.
Tom and Steve.
Yeah.
Well, I generated.
Tom edited it. Tom
well,
edited yours.
Yeah, well, he edited what I created, and I looked at the original drafting that I resurrected the computer. A Pentium machine is what this was originally in. And anyway, and there's some things that are lacking in this. And
Well, that's what I
Well,
said.
but then do we want to take the opportunity to amend it at this
I
point?
think we do, because I've sent some stuff to Tom's conversationally
Okay.
at county planning, and I've yet to have a retort.
I can't get him to answer any more for me.
Well, he is covered up. Because you know, like the property tax thing, and then you drive down 231 and, you know, every 60 feet, there's a new driveway,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, my concern was if we submit it, if we vote on it tonight and submit it, I don't think they're gonna review it if it's conditional, or I don't think the planning commission is gonna wanna put their seal of approval or even take the time to look it over.
If we've done it only provisionally.
If it's
yeah.
draft,
Yeah.
you know, and they're expecting changes, are they even, can they even legally do anything if we submit a document that's not
Right.
complete?
So who's one to add an amend to this? Or you have some specific?
I have a few questions that, you know, not necessarily to beef this up, but to clarify some stuff.
Sure.
There's a hair of ambiguity here and there, and I want to avoid those fights. You know, I've got the octagonal shutter that I want to hang inverted with a neon sign in it, okay? And
Just in, yeah.
and they said, no.
Well, do we want to do this then? Do we want to not set a date for a meeting and try to get consensus online about when availability might be?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
But
just,
it may take a minute.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it may take a minute to get all 5 plus.
Maybe we could set a fixed meeting for late July.
Sure.
And then just try to make it a point to say, hey,
Should we
we
maybe,
just need to be here.
should we maybe get some guidance from John and the mayor as far as like, you know, how critical is it that this thing be done, packaged, complete, or can we, you know, start here?
Well, I think based on the conversation tonight, it needs to be what we want it to be. Everything that we want in it needs to be in it when we approve it and say this is it. Because then it goes to John to go to zoning for their approval, and then from there to the city. So, you know, I think I think you're right.
I think if it's still, if y'all still, I was thinking it was a little bit further along. I'm more of time. Let's go. Let's get it done. That's just the world I operate in. So I'm just trying to think, and I mean, yeah, maybe it's not critical, but I'm just thinking, I've got a building next to me that is for sale, and it could sell tomorrow. They're
Well,
gonna
wish
be
it
they're
would.
gonna be doing
Yeah.
stuff with the old city hall building. It sounds like they're finally getting things going on it. That's next door to me.
That's a Mike Jennings thing, right? Is he not? What's up
News
with
to me.
that?
I don't know who's spearheading it, but
April, do you
They've
know
been
anything
cleaning
about
it.
that, or
It's
the
around-
old city hall building?
It's the church, so you had that oil change in the Bay Area, gonna start in July 1st.
No, say that again.
The church, Remnant Church, is doing, this oil change for single moms in the Bay Area.
A church wants to take it over?
Churches, I don't think they're taking it over. They're just going to, I guess Mike's granted them to go in.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Will that affect other statutes, like restaurants' ability to serve on site? That's going to change
Well, if it's a church, yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. That would all but null and void anything and everything on the square.
No, I don't
But
know.
they're not
No, because
buying the building.
They gave us a variance, if you will, for those buildings that are within the library. Now, this wasn't church talk at the time, but we have my building, your building, anyone that has an address and a door that empties on Main Street. So this got Newman's building, Old Lulu's, pouring. Mine could, yours could, because you'd have to use the small shop.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't think I
Mike's
knew that.
Imports.
Why not? Can't make any less money than I make.
So that has already passed. So that was, but you throw a church in the square. I don't know what that does either.
But it's not a church.
No.
They're
No.
not. It's still city property.
But
It's
if
not-
there was a purchase option given to them, but they would have to bid it, or it'd have to probably.
It'd have to go to public bid,
Yeah.
yeah.
My understanding.
And it'd have to be advertised, right? Is that not right, April? I mean, if the city decided to sell that building, it would have to be advertised and go to public bid for like a closed bid kind of thing, right? Or,
But I don't think we have any intention right now.
yeah, because my last conversation with Mike about that building was that he was looking to get a grant to try to turn it into help me out here, like a community type.
Some place of assembly.
Yeah, but for community's effort, yeah,
Community room.
yeah. Which I guess would only work for the downstairs, because you can't, from
Handicap
the ADA
access
standpoint, you
without
can't get
elevator.
upstairs. Yeah.
That building's cobbled together. It's on cedar post.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna defer on the vote then.
Okay.
Yeah,
We need a motion.
I guess.
I would make a motion that we table the current processes until we have more than a quorum, but full participation of our council, Tom Brashears, and our liaison with the planning commission, and that way we'd be congruent for our presentation.
At least a quorum plus those two. Right? Is that what the motion? Then I'll second that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, well, that was good discussion. I think it was well worth that, and it kind of helps
Should
bring Mike
next
into-
order of business setting a date to when we'll meet again.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna throw out some feelers, right?
Well,
See,
I was thinking maybe we set a date for toward the end of July, and then we try to get some feedback if people are gonna be able to make that. And then we can always change it if we have
Sure.
to.
All April needs is enough time for the sunshine law.
Which is what, 3 days or something like that, yeah. What about the 22nd?
what about the 29th?
What about the 29th? I think that works too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make it
Okay.
happen.
29th it is then.
Yeah.
Okay, 6 o'clock here.
Okay.
That's far enough out, you would hope that people could plan.
Sure.
You know, the jazz festival's over and done, and there shouldn't be anything for John conflicting unless he's in Texas, I think. I think he must have gone to visit
Who's it, great?
his son, yeah. All right, I guess
Good for him.
motion to adjourn unless there's anything
Make a
else.
motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Nicely done.
First official.